beyond the rusted gates of history's darkest rural legends. The soil remembers every scream. You're about to see the bone-chilling evidence that proves some plantations never truly emptied. From phantom shadows to blood-stained fields, these are 15 haunted farms that will shatter your soul. 1. The Perrin Family Farmhouse, Harrisville, Rhode Island, USA. In the quiet countryside of Harrisville, Rhode Island, stands a farmhouse that looks deceptively peaceful. Built in 1736, the old Arnold estate sits on 200 acres that served as a working farm for 8 generations. When the Perron family moved into the home in January 1971, they believed they had found a rural sanctuary. However, the land held a dark history involving a single-family line, many of whom died within the walls under tragic circumstances, from suicides to accidental drownings and reported murders. The soil was saturated with grief long before Roger and Carolyn Perrin ever turned a key in the lock. The primary legend centers on Bathsheba Sherman, who lived on a neighboring property in the mid-1800s, though historical records describe her as a typical woman of her era. The investigation by Ed and Lorraine Warren painted a much darker picture. They claimed Bathsheba was a practicing Satanist who had sacrificed her own infant child to the devil using a knitting needle. Before her death in 1885, she allegedly cursed the land and anyone who dared to inhabit it. While the Perrons encountered many spirits, it was the malevolent entity identified as Bathsheba that became their primary tormentor, intent on driving them out through psychological and physical terror. Paranormal activity escalated from subtle anomalies to terrifying physical assaults. The family reported the nauseating stench of rotting flesh filling rooms suddenly. Even when the house was clean, beds shook violently, and furniture was observed levitating or sliding across floors without explanation. Carolyn Perrin bore the brunt of the attacks, reporting sharp, stabbing pains in her leg that resembled a needle puncture. The investigation culminated in a 1974 seance led by the Warrens, during which Carolyn allegedly became possessed, speaking in a demonic voice and being thrown across the room while sitting in a chair, an event Roger Perron eventually stopped to save his wife. Despite the hauntings, the Perrons remained for 10 years, finally departing in 1980. Today, the farmhouse remains a site of intense interest for researchers. It has changed hands several times, with recent owners reporting that the spirits never truly left, though activity is now less violent than what the Perron daughters endured. The property is currently operated as a paranormal research center and tourist destination, allowing visitors to step into the rooms that inspired a global horror phenomenon. The house stands as a chilling reminder that some histories are never truly buried, and the echoes of the past can still be heard today. Two, Hinterkaifeck Farm, Weidhofen, Bavaria, Germany. Deep in the Bavarian woods of Germany, 70 kilometers north of Munich, once stood the isolated farmstead of Hinterkaifeck. This remote Einödhof near the town of Schrobenhausen was the modest agricultural home of the Gruber family. As a typical 19th century Bavarian farm, it provided a hard, self-sustaining life for the patriarch Andreas Gruber, his wife Cecilia, and their widowed daughter Victoria. In early 1922, the atmosphere at the farm turned sinister when Andreas discovered strange footprints in the snow leading from the forest to the house, but none leading back. Despite hearing unexplained scratches in the attic and finding a mysterious Munich newspaper that no one in the house had purchased, the family stayed. They remained unaware that their humble homestead was about to become the setting of the most baffling and brutal cold case in German history. The legend of the site is rooted in the horrific events of March 31st, 1922, when 6 people were murdered with a pickaxe-like tool called a mattock. The victims were Andreas and Cecilia Gruber, their daughter Victoria, her 7-year-old daughter Cecilia, her 2-year-old son Josef, and a new maid, Maria Baumgartner, who had arrived just hours before the attack. Chillingly, evidence suggests the killer remained on the farm for several days after the massacre, feeding the cattle and cooking meals in the kitchen while the bodies lay in the barn. No one was ever caught, and the motive remains a mystery. This unsolved crime left a permanent stain on the land, birthing a local legend of a faceless killer who never truly left the property, even after the victims were finally discovered and laid to rest. Reported paranormal activity persists at the site today, despite the house being razed shortly after the investigation. Visitors and locals describe an oppressive heaviness and unexplained temperature drops near the old foundation. Many claim to hear phantom footsteps crunching through the grass, mirroring the tracks Andreas discovered in the snow. Shadowy figures are frequently spotted at the edge of the woods, and the muffled sound of a child's cry is often heard at night. These anomalies are attributed to the restless spirits of the Gruber family, particularly young Joseph. These sightings suggest that the trauma of the 1922 massacre left a residual energy that continues to manifest for those brave enough to walk the path toward the former farmstead. Today, only a small memorial stone marks the site, as the farm buildings were completely demolished in 1923 to erase the physical reminder of the tragedy. The field is now a quiet, empty space reclaimed by nature, yet it remains one of Germany's most notorious haunted locations. Three, Bell Witch Farm, Adams, Tennessee, USA. In 1804, farmer John Bell moved his family from North Carolina to a fertile tract of land along the Red River in Robertson County, Tennessee. This settlement in Adams was a peaceful homestead for over a decade. The family lived as respected members of their rural community until 1817, when the tranquility was shattered by malevolent events that would become the most documented poltergeist case in American history. This wasn't just a simple haunting, it was an intelligent and vocal siege that eventually led to a tragic end for the patriarch. The legend centers on an entity dubbed the Bell Witch, often called Kate, while local folklore linked the spirit to a neighbor named Kate Batts. The entity itself claimed various identities. Unlike typical silent hauntings, this presence was remarkably communicative. It began with sightings of strange animals, creatures with dog bodies and rabbit heads, but soon escalated into a disembodied voice that sang hymns and quoted scripture. The spirit's primary targets were John Bell and his daughter, Betsy, while it respected John's wife, Lucy. It subjected Betsy to physical torment, including pinching and hair pulling. Activity at the farm was unprecedented in physical intensity. Witnesses reported scratching on cabin walls and heavy objects falling. The spirit's most chilling actions involved John Bell's health. He suffered a facial affliction that the entity mocked relentlessly. The haunting gained national attention with a legendary visit from future President Andrew Jackson, whose wagon was reportedly immobilized by an invisible force. The ordeal culminated in 1820 with John Bell's death. A mysterious vial was found near his bed, and the spirit claimed to have poisoned him, marking a rare instance of an entity being credited with a human's death. Following the death, the entity's presence waned, and it announced its departure in 1821. It promised to return 7 years later, briefly appearing to John Bell Jr. in 1828 before vowing to return again in 1935. Today, the original cabin is gone, but the site remains a focal point for paranormal research. The Bell Witch Cave, on site, is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The atmosphere in Adams remains heavy with this unsolved mystery, as the land serves as a chilling reminder of a tragedy that transcended the natural world, leaving a mark on American folklore. Four, Fox Hollow Farm, Carmel, Indiana, USA. Nestled on 18 acres of lush land in Carmel, Indiana, stands a sprawling Tudor-style estate that conceals a darkness far removed from its scenic surroundings. Built in the 1970s, this property was meant to be a sanctuary of luxury. But its legacy was forever tainted in the early 1990s when it became the residence of Herb Baumeister. While neighbors saw a successful businessman and family man, the grounds held a grisly secret beneath the soil. In 1996, a massive investigation uncovered a killing field on the property, where over 10,000 charred bone fragments and teeth were meticulously recovered from the woods behind the house. This discovery linked Baumeister to the disappearances of numerous men from the Indianapolis area, turning this suburban dream home into one of the most notorious and tragic crime scenes in American history. The horror of the site is rooted in the volume of victims believed to have spent their final moments within these walls. Folklore surrounding the property is based on the documented identities of the missing and the grim reality of the forensic evidence. Spirits here are often felt as a collective weight of lives cut short, though one specific figure stands out in accounts from residents and researchers. A man wearing a blue raincoat has been sighted wandering the perimeter of the woods and the pool area, thought to be Baumeister himself, who used the pseudonym Joe while scouting for victims. The presence of the killer is said to permeate the air, creating a psychological landscape where the past never truly recedes and the victims remain tethered to the location. Paranormal activity at the estate is frequent, with investigators reporting phenomena that defy logical explanation. Objects are known to move across rooms on their own, and vacuum cleaners have been heard running in empty wings of the house. Electronic voice phenomena have captured chilling whispers, including voices pleading for help or calling out names of those long gone. Sudden, localized temperature drops often precede the sighting of shadow figures that dart between the trees in the backyard. Visitors describe an overwhelming sense of being watched, accompanied by the sound of footsteps echoing through the hallways, suggesting the property's tragic history has left an indelible psychic imprint on the structure that continues to manifest decades later. Today, the estate remains a private residence, though its reputation as a haunted landmark continues to draw the attention of the curious. Despite efforts to reclaim the land and move past its macabre history, the intensity of the events that occurred there ensures that the location remains a focal point for paranormal research. Five, Elvey Farm, Pluckley, Kent. UK, nestled in the Ashford district of Kent, England, lies a village whose tranquil appearance belies a dark heritage. First documented in the Domesday Book of 1086 as Pluckley, this settlement survived the Black Death and the rise of the influential Daring family in the 15th century. It is architecturally distinct for its daring windows arched casements that local legend says were specifically designed to ward off spirits. In 1989, the Guinness World Records officially recognized this site as the most haunted village in Britain, cementing its status as a premier location for paranormal study. The historical depth of the area provides a heavy backdrop for the numerous sightings that have been reported by residents and visitors for generations. The folklore of this area is defined by a cast of 12 to 15 documented spirits. At the location known as Fright Corner, a highwayman is said to have been run through with a sword and pinned to an ancient oak tree during a violent struggle with the law. Nearby, at Pinnock Bridge, the watercress woman reportedly haunts the mist. She was an elderly merchant who accidentally burned to death when her pipe ignited her clothing. The Daring family legacy continues through the Red Lady, buried in Street, Nicholas Church within 7 lead-lined coffins and an outer silver casket, who roams the graveyard searching for her lost child. Anomalies here extend beyond visual sightings, encompassing sensory disturbances that chill investigators. In Daring Woods, now infamously called the Screaming Woods, visitors report blood-curdling shrieks echoing through the trees at night. At the Black Horse Inn, patrons have witnessed glasses moving on their own and felt unseen hands tugging at their clothes. while the Daring Arms is plagued by an apparition of an elderly woman in Victorian dress. Sharp temperature drops are common near the church, and thermal imaging has occasionally captured inexplicable heat signatures in the empty nave. Consistent reports of spectral horse hooves on the cobblestones maintain the site's reputation for intense paranormal density. Today, this Kentish village remains a focal point for researchers, though the community balances ghost hunters with a quiet rural lifestyle. The atmosphere is heavy with historical weight, especially during misty months when the boundaries between past and present seem thin. While some skeptics suggest the legends were embellished in the mid-20th century, the volume of consistent eyewitness accounts keeps the mystery alive. Standing beneath those arched windows or walking through the shadows of the woods, the village remains a living monument to English folklore and the human fascination with what lies beyond. Six, Monte Cristo Homestead, Junee, New South Wales, Australia. Perched on a hill overlooking Junee, New South Wales, Australia, stands a late Victorian manor that remains one of the country's most significant historical landmarks. Built in 1885 by pioneer Christopher William Crawley, this grand homestead reflected the prestige of a family that flourished alongside the local railway industry. For decades, the Crawley family inhabited the estate, maintaining a position of high social standing. However, beneath the ornate iron lace and cedar joinery, the house's legacy is inextricably linked to a series of tragic events that occurred within its walls. Following Christopher's death in 1910, his wife Elizabeth retreated into a state of extreme mourning, reportedly spending her final 2 decades immersed in the Bible and rarely leaving the upper floors of the residence. The legends surrounding the property are grounded in documented tragedies that have fueled its reputation as a paranormal epicenter. Local folklore speaks of several restless spirits, including a maid who allegedly plunged to her death from the 2nd-floor balcony, and a young stable boy named Morris, who succumbed to horrific burns after his mattress was set alight. Perhaps most chilling is the story of Harold, a mentally ill man reportedly kept chained in the caretaker's cottage for 40 years, his presence often marked by the sound of clanking chains. The spirit of Mrs. Crawley is said to still preside over the home, her stern presence felt in her former quarters, while the ghost of a young child named Ethel, who died after a fall on the stairs, is frequently cited in local accounts. Investigators and visitors frequently report a broad spectrum of unexplained phenomena that defy conventional explanation. The most common experiences include sudden temperature drops and the overwhelming sensation of being watched by unseen eyes. Orbs of light and shadowy figures are often captured in photographs or seen darting through the hallways. Particularly near the infamous staircase, witnesses have described physical interactions, such as being pushed by invisible hands or hearing disembodied footsteps pacing the wooden floorboards at night. The atmosphere is often described as heavy and oppressive, with many visitors reporting that electronic equipment malfunctions or batteries drain instantly upon entering certain rooms, adding a layer of technological mystery to the site's enduring reputation as a hotspot for the supernatural. Today, the homestead has transitioned from a private family residence to a world-renowned destination for enthusiasts of the macabre and the historical alike. Operated as a museum and a bed and breakfast, it invites the public to step back in time and experience the chilling atmosphere of the late 19th century firsthand. Seven, Myrtles Plantation Street, Francisville, Louisiana. Wes A. Deepin Street, Francisville, Louisiana, stands a sprawling antebellum estate that is among America's most haunted homes. Established in 1796 by General David Bradford, The property was originally named Whispering Pines and served several influential families throughout the 19th century. This French Creole-style mansion, featuring a massive 80-foot veranda and intricate wrought iron lace, is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Its history is a tapestry of agricultural ambition and domestic life, representing a preserved slice of Southern history where the shadows of the past have far outlived its original inhabitants. The folklore of the site is dominated by the legend of Chloe, an enslaved woman during the Woodruff family's ownership. According to lore, she accidentally poisoned a cake, leading to the deaths of Sarah Woodruff and her 2 daughters, while historical records only confirm the 1871 murder of William Winter, who was shot on the porch and died on the 17th step. Chloe's story remains the most persistent. Visitors often report a figure wearing a green turban, and many believe the spirits of the children are trapped within a gilded mirror in the hall. These tales are synonymous with the estate's identity, blending tragedy with enduring supernatural myth. Investigators and guests have documented various anomalies that defy explanation. Reported phenomena include phantom footsteps on the grand staircase, doors that lock independently, and sudden, localized temperature drops. Most famous are the photographic anomalies in the hallway mirror, where handprints and spectral figures appear despite regular cleaning. Other accounts describe a piano playing itself in the dead of night or the scent of expensive perfume wafting through empty rooms. These are not isolated incidents, but part of a decades-long tradition of strange occurrences that draw researchers from around the world seeking to document the unexplained within these walls. Today, the estate operates as a bed and breakfast, offering guests the chance to sleep within its storied walls. The atmosphere is thick with mystery, as ancient live oaks draped in Spanish moss cast long shadows over the grounds. It stands as a chilling monument to the past, where the line between historical fact and Southern Gothic legend often blurs. Whether seeking a glimpse of Chloe or exploring the architectural beauty of a bygone era, the location offers an unparalleled experience. It remains a fixture of American paranormal culture, perpetually inviting the curious to explore its halls and confront its restless reputation. Eight, the Daniel Lady Farm, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, USA. Nestled on the outskirts of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, stands a 146-acre landscape that bore witness to one of the bloodiest chapters in American history. Built in 1842 by Daniel and Bernadette Lady, this stone farmhouse and its accompanying barn were intended for a quiet life of agriculture. However, in July 1863, the peaceful setting was violently transformed into a gruesome Confederate field hospital during the Battle of Gettysburg. As General Richard Ewell established his headquarters here, the property became a desperate sanctuary for thousands of wounded soldiers from the 2nd Army Corps. The domestic halls and the vast barn floor were quickly carpeted with suffering men, turning a family home into a site of unimaginable trauma and surgical necessity that would leave an indelible mark on the land itself. The legends surrounding this property are deeply rooted in the lingering spirits of those who never left the makeshift infirmary. Foremost among the reported spectral residents is General Richard Ewell himself, whose stern presence is said to still oversee the grounds where he once commanded his troops. While Ewell survived the battle, the intense emotional energy of the conflict seemingly tethered his essence to the site. Visitors and investigators frequently speak of the general appearing in period uniform, his authoritative gaze fixed on the horizon. Alongside him are the anonymous souls of the rank-and-file Confederate soldiers who succumbed to their infections or horrific injuries within these walls. These men, far from their homes in the South, are believed to remain in a state of perpetual unrest, haunting the very rooms where their lives reached a tragic, agonizing end. The evidence of this lingering presence is both chillingly physical and intangibly haunting. To this day, The floorboards of the upstairs bedrooms retain dark, permanent stains confirmed to be human blood that soaked through the wood during primitive surgeries. Paranormal investigators have documented significant anomalies, ranging from sudden, localized temperature drops to the sounds of heavy boots pacing across empty hallways. Disembodied groans and the phantom clinking of surgical instruments are often heard echoing from the barn, where the most dire cases were treated. Modern technology has captured striking electronic voice phenomena, often featuring southern accents, and shadow figures are frequently spotted darting between the stone pillars of the cellar. This combination of tangible forensic evidence and consistent spectral encounters makes the site a premier destination for those seeking proof of the afterlife. (9) Rose Hall Plantation, Montego Bay, St. James, Jamaica. High above Montego Bay, Jamaica, sits a Georgian mansion serving as a monument to the island's colonial past, constructed around 1770 by John Palmer. This grand estate was the centerpiece of a sugar plantation, built with local limestone and mahogany. The house projected power over the Caribbean coast. However, its history is deeply intertwined with the dark realities of the era's labor system. While the house fell into ruin during the 19th century following the decline of the plantation economy, it remains a significant piece of Jamaican heritage, forever shadowed by the grim legends that took root within its walls. The site's notoriety centers on the legend of the White Witch, Annie Palmer. Folklore suggests Annie learned voodoo in Haiti before moving to Jamaica and marrying John Palmer, the owner of the estate. The legend claims she murdered 3 husbands and numerous lovers, ruling with a cruelty that led to her violent demise at the hands of a foreman named Taku. While historians clarify that this narrative was popularized by a 1929 novel and that the real Rosa Palmer was benevolent, the myth of the murderous Annie is inseparable from the house's identity. This transition from fact to ghost story has made the property a focal point for supernatural enthusiasts. Visitors frequently report unsettling experiences while navigating the house's restored hallways. The atmosphere feels heavy, particularly near the bedroom where Annie reportedly committed her crimes. Witnesses claim to see a woman in white on balconies or shadows moving independently. Unexplained cold spots manifest in the heat, and some have captured photographs featuring strange light anomalies. Disembodied footsteps and muffled screams are frequently cited as evidence that spirits from the plantation's tragic past never departed. These occurrences have solidified the estate's reputation as a paranormal hotspot, drawing investigators worldwide seeking proof of the afterlife. Today, the mansion stands restored thanks to a 1960s preservation effort led by John Rollins. It serves as a premier tourist destination, offering historical tours and night walks for those seeking the supernatural. Despite its museum status, the property maintains a palpable sense of dread. Whether the hauntings are Annie's curse or the weight of history, the site remains the premier haunted location in the Caribbean. Its silent stones continue to guard secrets of a past that refuses to be buried, inviting all to decide what truly dwells within. Oak Alley Plantation, Vacherie, Louisiana, USA, located along the banks of the Mississippi River in Vacherie, St. James Parish, Louisiana, stands a monumental testament to the antebellum South. Construction began in 1837 and was completed in 1839 for Jacques Telesphore Roman, a wealthy sugar planter who originally named the estate Bon Séjour. The site is defined by its stunning Greek Revival architecture and a breathtaking double row of 28 live oak trees that predate the mansion itself. Having been planted in the early 18th century, while the facade is one of grandeur, the history is deeply rooted in the labor of enslaved individuals who maintain the vast sugar operations, including a man named Antoine, whose horticultural genius led to the first successful grafting of paper shell pecans on the property. The legends surrounding this estate are as dense as the Spanish moss hanging from the oaks. While many spirits are said to roam the grounds, the most persistent figure is known as the Lady in Black. This mournful specter is often sighted walking through the 800-foot-long alley of trees or appearing suddenly on the mansion's gallery. Others believe the spirit of Josephine Stewart, who purchased the property in 1925 and dedicated her life to its restoration through the Oak Alley Foundation, still keeps a protective watch over the home. The echoes of the past are not limited to the owners. The presence of the many enslaved people who lived and died here permeates the atmosphere, contributing to a layer of folklore that transcends simple ghost stories. Investigators and visitors frequently report chilling anomalies that defy logical explanation. Many have witnessed the heavy, period-accurate chairs in the dining room, moving or rocking as if occupied by invisible guests. The sound of phantom horse-drawn carriages rattling up the drive is a common auditory phenomenon, often accompanied by the distinct scent of lavender or tobacco. Sudden, localized temperature drops occur in the upper floor bedrooms, and shadow figures are regularly spotted darting between the massive white columns. Perhaps most unsettling are the reports of invisible hands touching the shoulders of tourists, as well as the faint, distant sound of children's laughter echoing through the hallways when no children are present. Today, this site stands as a National Historic Landmark, serving as a museum that meticulously preserves both its architectural beauty and its complex, often painful, human history. It remains one of the most iconic locations in the United States, attracting thousands of visitors who come to walk beneath the ancient canopy. As the sun sets behind the massive trunks, the transition from a historic site to a place of mystery becomes undeniable. Chingle Hall Farm, Goosnarr, Lancashire, UK. Nestled within the village of Goosnarr in Lancashire, England, stands a timber-framed manor house steeped in centuries of religious upheaval. Originally constructed around 1260 by Adam de Singleton, the structure was initially known as Singleton Hall. This moated residence remained in the Singleton family until it passed to the Wall family via marriage in 1585. The site gained profound historical significance during the 17th century as a clandestine center for Catholic worship during a period of intense state persecution. Its most famous resident, St. John Wall, was born here in 1620 and eventually became a Franciscan priest. The house was meticulously designed with defensive features and secret priest holes, hidden cavities used to shelter clergy from local authorities, reflecting the dangerous political and religious climate of Elizabethan and Stuart England. The legends surrounding the hall are inextricably linked to the tragic fate of St. John Wall, who was executed at Worcester in 1679 for his priesthood. Local folklore suggests that his head was secretly retrieved and returned to his ancestral home, where it was purportedly buried beneath the cellar floor. Consequently, the most frequently reported spirit is that of a blue monk or a hooded figure believed to be the martyred saint himself. Another recurring legend involves a lady in white who is said to haunt the corridors, alongside an apparition of a man dressed in cavalier-style clothing. These figures are not mere inventions, but are rooted in the house's transformation into a site of martyrdom and hidden faith, making it spiritually significant in northern England. Investigation logs and witness testimonies over the decades have documented a staggering array of anomalies that defy conventional explanation. Visitors and former residents have reported the distinct sound of heavy, rhythmic footsteps echoing through empty hallways, often accompanied by the sudden, violent slamming of doors. Sharp temperature plunges are frequently recorded in the room where St. John Wall is believed to have been born. More unsettling are the reports of physical manifestations, such as objects being moved by unseen hands and the faint scent of burning incense or wood permeating rooms without an active fireplace. Visual sightings include shadowy apparitions flickering near the ancient priest holes, cementing the site's reputation as one of the most active and haunted dwellings in the United Kingdom. Today, the hall remains a somber monument to the past, its dark timber and ancient moat casting an imposing silhouette against the Lancashire landscape. "12. Shirley Plantation, Charles City, Virginia, USA. Nestled along the north bank of the James River in Charles City County, Virginia, lies a sprawling estate that stands as a silent witness to over 4 centuries of history. Established in 1613, it is the oldest active plantation in Virginia and the oldest family-owned business in North America. Originally granted to Sir Thomas West, the land was acquired by Edward Hill I in 1638. The Queen Anne-style mansion was constructed between 1723 and 1738 for the family's descendants. For 11 generations, the Hill-Carter family has maintained this land, preserving a legacy that spans from the colonial era through the Civil War, creating a historical gravity that clings to the site. Within the walls of this mansion, the most enduring legend centers on an 18th century resident named Martha Hill, known as Aunt Pratt. Her presence is tied inextricably to a framed portrait that hangs within the great house. According to family folklore, Martha was deeply devoted to the estate and remains protective of her place within it. The core of the haunting revolves around the physical location of her likeness. It is said that Martha's spirit remains tethered to the painting, expressing violent displeasure whenever the portrait is moved from its designated spot or taken away from the grounds. Paranormal activity here is described as rhythmic and persistent. Whenever the portrait of Aunt Pratt was historically moved, such as during renovations or when placed in the attic, witnesses reported hearing heavy, unexplained banging coming from inside the walls. More chillingly, during a 1970s exhibition in New York, the portrait reportedly refused to hang still, rocking violently against the wall until it was removed. These disturbances are often accompanied by sudden temperature drops and the sensation of being watched. The activity only ceases when the painting is returned to its rightful position, suggesting a spirit that demands recognition for her ancestral home. Today, the estate remains a National Historic Landmark, still operated by Hill-Carter descendants. The flying staircase provides a tangible link to the past. But the legend of Aunt Pratt ensures the site is known for more than architecture. As the sun sets over the James River, the atmosphere shifts from historical reverence to something more spectral. Whether it is the weight of 11 generations or the lingering gaze of Martha Hill, the house stands as a haunting reminder that some residents never truly leave, keeping a permanent watch over the legacy they left behind. "13. Ferry Plantation, Virginia Beach, Virginia, USA. In Virginia Beach, Virginia, stands a brick manor serving as a silent witness to centuries of history. Located on the Lynnhaven River, the Ferry Plantation house dates to 1830, though the land's legacy began in 1642 with a ferry service for Princess Anne County. The house was constructed using salvaged English bricks from the ruins of the 1735 Princess Anne County Courthouse. This historical layering means the walls are literally made of the region's judicial past. Over time, the property served as a plantation, post office, and school, eventually joining the National Register of Historic Places. The property is famous for hosting 11 distinct spirits tethered to its timeline. A primary association is Grace Sherwood, the Witch of Pungo, while her 1706 trial by water predates the current house. The event occurred nearby, and her legend is deeply linked to the grounds. Folklore also describes the Lady in White, a woman named Sally who reportedly died from a fall in 1810, and a child named Erica. Other spirits include former resident Thomas Walk and victims of a Lynnhaven River shipwreck. These entities are recognized figures in the house's oral tradition, reflecting centuries of local history. Investigative accounts detail unexplained phenomena that defy logic. Witnesses often report the sound of heavy objects being dragged across floorboards when the upper levels are empty. Sudden temperature drops occur frequently in the parlor and near the central staircase. Some visitors claim to see shadowy figures or smell pipe tobacco in vacant rooms. Even more unsettling are disembodied voices, ranging from soft whispers to the laughter of children echoing through the halls. These anomalies draw paranormal teams seeking evidence of the energy believed to be trapped within the recycled bricks of the 1830 structure. Today, the Ferry Plantation House is a landmark operated by the Friends of the Ferry Plantation House. It functions as a museum, offering tours that balance factual history with chilling legends. The atmosphere is heavy with stillness, especially as the sun sets over the river, casting shadows across the brickwork. It remains a site where the veil between eras feels exceptionally thin. Whether visiting for the architecture or to encounter the Witch of Pungo, the house stands as a monument to the enduring spirits of Virginia's colonial and antebellum past. Loretta Lynn's Ranch, Hurricane Mills, Tennessee. U.S.A. Nestled in Hurricane Mills, Tennessee, lies a sprawling estate with a history as deep as its roots. Long before it became synonymous with country music royalty, the land was a thriving 19th century plantation. The centerpiece is the Grand House, a massive structure completed in 1876 by James T. Anderson. Anderson essentially owned the entire town, overseeing the local mill and the general store. When Loretta Lynn and her husband, Mooney, purchased the property in the 1960s, they inherited a legacy predating the Civil War, including the scars of a skirmish fought right on the front lawn. The legends tethered to this soil are as vivid as the songs written within its walls. One heartbreaking figure is a woman in white, believed to be the daughter of an early owner named Beals. She is a grieving mother who lost her infant and is often seen pacing the balcony or weeping near the family cemetery. Another prominent entity is a Confederate soldier, frequently spotted standing guard on the porch. During the Civil War, 19 soldiers were reportedly buried on the property, and their restless energy permeates the grounds. Loretta often spoke of Brownie, a helpful entity, and the spirits of the original owners who never truly left. Investigation into the house has yielded results that defy logical explanation. Visitors report the sound of heavy boots walking through empty hallways. Doors firmly latched are found swinging wide, and the nursery temperature often plummets without warning. Most unsettling are the physical interactions. Guests have felt invisible hands tugging at their clothing, and Mooney Lynn famously recounted an encounter where a spirit tried to pull his boots off while he slept. Visual anomalies are striking, with shadows darting across the parlor and the recurring sight of a mourning woman gazing from upper windows, forever waiting for a child who will never return. Today, the ranch serves as a massive complex featuring a museum and campgrounds. However, the plantation house remains the heart of the property's supernatural reputation. It stands as a silent witness to Tennessee history, from the plantation era to the height of country music fame. While tour buses bring modern energy to Hurricane Mills, a heavy stillness settles over the mansion after sunset. It is where the past refuses to stay buried, inviting the curious to a world where the veil between the living and the dead is notoriously thin. The Barton House of Redlands, California, USA. Standing as a silent sentinel in Redlands, California. This architectural relic is the oldest brick residence in the region, constructed between 1866 and 1867 by Dr. Benjamin Barton. The estate was established upon the historic San Bernardino Rancho, Long before orange groves defined the landscape, this structure rose as a symbol of early American settlement. Built using clay fired on site, its Greek Revival influences speak to a bygone era of luxury. Yet the land carries a weight of centuries. The site was previously a Spanish mission outpost, grounding the villa in a timeline that stretches back long before modern California was born. The folklore surrounding this mansion is as dense as the brick walls that support it. Local legend centers on Dr. Barton himself, who is said to still patrol the halls. Witnesses often whisper about the Lady in White, a spectral figure seen drifting through upper floors or gazing from windows, while some suggest these entities are echoes of the Barton family. Others point to the site's deep colonial history. The transition from a rugged ranch to a refined estate left behind a residue of memories that locals believe has never faded, cementing its reputation as a focal point for the unexplained. Investigators have documented anomalies that defy logical explanation. Reports highlight the sound of heavy footsteps echoing through corridors when the building is vacant. Dramatic temperature drops are frequently noted in areas where the original architecture remains. Sudden flickers of light have been observed through the glass at night. Despite the absence of occupants, these occurrences are often accompanied by the sensation of being watched. A heavy atmosphere where shadows appear to detach from the corners. Such evidence has transformed the villa into a destination for those seeking a tangible connection to the supernatural. Today, the villa is restored for professional offices while remaining on the National Register of Historic Places. Despite its modern utility, the mansion retains an aura of mystery. The preservation of its brickwork bridges the gap between the living and the dead, ensuring Dr. Barton's legacy survives. As the sun sets, the estate stands as a testament that some histories are too vibrant to be forgotten. It remains a captivating monument where the past is not merely remembered, but seemingly experienced by those who walk its hallowed grounds, reminding us that the past still lingers. Which of these rural nightmares sent a chill down your spine? If you're craving more terror, hit like and subscribe to join our haunt. Next time, we're venturing into the world's most cursed forests. You won't want to be left alone for that one. Thanks for watching. And remember, some legends never truly die. See you in the dark.